I love the moon and the stars as much as the next guy, but I wouldn't count on them to keep me off of death row. Bryan Kohberger, on the other hand, says he could not possibly be the guy who slaughtered 4 University of Idaho students because, in the words of his lawyers, he was out watching the moon and the stars in the middle of the night with his phone turned off, 4 a.m., miles and miles from his home, but not too far from the murder scene. So his lawyers are obviously now having to work overtime, right? Trying to stop the prosecutors from seeking the death penalty if, in fact, Kohberger is convicted. As for alibis, a strong one can keep you out of trouble in the first place, but a weak one, that can end your life. God forbid you are ever accused of something you didn't do. But if you are, there is no better defense than an alibi. That's evidence that places you anywhere but the scene of the crime. Could be a witness, person who saw you somewhere else, or better yet, video or photos that prove you are not their guy. But in the case of Jane Gill, murdered back in 1991, lawyers for the accused tried to use a parrot named Max as an alibi. The lawyers were defending a guy named Gary and said the bird saw the whole thing and indicated there was no one named Gary on the scene. Instead, that parrot supposedly repeated the words, "Richard, no, no, no." Unfortunately for Gary, the defendant, the jury never heard from Max the parrot, and Gary, the defendant, was convicted. But now more than ever, our digital footprints convict or acquit or betray us whether we like it or not. Our phones, our cars, our credit cards, our browsing and searching online, all of it can show where we were and pretty much what we were up to every minute of the day. Just ask Christopher Procopia. On the morning of September 22nd, 2017, Procopia headed off to work at a lumber yard in Texas. But by evening, Christopher was in jail, accused of breaking into an ex-girlfriend's home and carving an X into her chest with a box cutter. He told police he couldn't remember the last time he'd even talked to his ex, let alone seen her. And lucky for Christopher, he'd actually been with his mother when the attack took place at a hotel more than 60 miles away. And his mom had posted a photo of the two of them on Facebook, complete with a timestamp and a location tag. Procopia was off the hook. In the Low Country, South Carolina, it was digital evidence that exposed Alex Murdaugh's alibi for the lie that it was. Murdaugh claimed he was visiting his mom when his wife and son were shot dead. But GPS and video from his dead son's phone showed some pretty damning evidence that Murdaugh was right there at the dog kennels within minutes of the gunfire.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
And digital tracking isn't just for detectives. A teacher in North Carolina was caught allegedly having sex with a student after that student's mom tracked the pair to a parking lot using Life 360. That's an app that's advertised for family safety. The teenager had said he was at a rugby practice. The jury is still out on the cost versus benefit of constant surveillance 24/7, but maybe think of it this way. Every time you tap your fare card to ride the bus, or map the drive to a restaurant with GPS, or even walk down a street in full view of surveillance cameras and doorbell cameras, that surveillance just might save you from a wrongful conviction. If Bryan Kohberger sticks with his moon and stars alibi, we'll have to wait a little while to see how that lands with the jury. His murder trial is scheduled to get underway next August. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.